Good morning, kids. Dad here. It is Wednesday, June 10, 2026, 9:38 in the AM. And I'm just going to cut straight to the chase because this gratitude is a special one. Just level set you on time frame here. I'd been doing this sobriety thing all of 2025. And the one thing I continued to struggle with was the God stuff. Getting my head around this higher power, this God as I understand him. And I knew God worked in some way, but to this day I don't understand God. So I had to figure out how do I continue to seek this God, this higher power. I wanted to continue seeking. So for me, what that looks like is in summer of 2025, I started reading the Bible, read the New Testament, and learned a lot about essentially the story of Jesus, and then some of the people like Paul and others who followed him, came after him. So summer 2025, I'd heard about this thing called Demontreville. It's a little, apparently it was like a silent retreat. I knew a couple of guys that did it and talked about it. That was interesting to me. A 4-day silent retreat at a Jesuit monastery just north of St. Paul. So I figured, well, that sounds like an interesting thing to try. So I signed up, and a couple months later, September 5th, 2025, I found myself at Demontreville. I'm there with about, 40 guys in my group, I think. And there's a handful of these Jesuit priests. And you turn your cell phone off, nobody talks. You get in on a Thursday, and then it's just 4 days of just prayer and meditation. And every once in a while, the retreat master, one of the priests, will give a little sermon in the chapel. So the bell will ring every couple of hours. Everyone will go into the chapel. The priest may read a passage from the Bible, and then we'll all go back to prayer and meditation for a couple hours. So on September 5th, 2025, I think this is the second day I was out there. I'm walking around the grounds of this place. It's a really nice, kind of quiet, secluded, wooded facility, grounds. It's got, the chapel, some little houses where the priests sleep. It's got a hermitage there, which is like legitimate hermits, which are a thing. And then they had a couple big guest houses, like bunk houses for those of us who are, visitors, people joining them for the retreat. So September 5th, 2025, I'm at Demontreville. I'm probably coming up around 24 hours of just silence, prayer, meditation. And I go for a walk. There's some trails and whatnot through the woods. And so I figured I'd go do that. And mid-afternoon, I'm walking through this trail, and I come out where the trail ends. It kind of opens up into a little bit of a field. And I see there's a Virgin Mary statue sitting right there at the edge of the clearing along the trail. So I go to the statue and I kneel, and I start to pray, and I'm praying, all right, Mother Mary, I've said the Hail Mary a number of times. I know that prayer. I said that prayer a lot in high school. In the military, it was one of the ones I remembered. But I don't really know if you're somebody I can actually pray to. Can I? I don't know if you can receive my prayers. I do believe you are real. I believe you're the mother of a guy named Jesus. I have no doubt about that. But I don't know if you're somebody who can receive my prayers. But if you are, I would like to pray for my daughter, Fiona. And please watch over and bless Fiona. Fill her heart with love. Let her know her dad still loves her. And please watch over her. Amen. And I stood up, and I turned around and started to walk away. And as I turned around, on the opposite side of that field, probably 50 yards away, a little baby deer emerges from the woods. and I froze. And I don't know about you kids, but every time I've ever seen a deer, if they see me, hear me, or smell me, they take off. This little baby deer came walking 50 yards across this field directly towards me. And it was staring at me the whole time, looking right at me. And it stopped about 10 feet away, maybe 2 of my arm lengths beyond me, so I couldn't quite reach out and touch it, but it just stopped and it stood there and stared at me for about 2 minutes with his big little fawn baby deer eyes. And I just got goosebumps because I'd never had anything like that happen in my life. So ultimately, I'm thinking, well, my gosh, I need to take a picture of this. Nobody's going to believe me. So I reached into my jacket pocket, go to pull out my phone. And as I went to pull up my phone, just started casually walking off. I did get some pictures of it. I was able to flip my phone on and get some pictures of it as I was walking away. So then I turned back to the statue of Mary, and I just couldn't help but grin. I'm just like, oh my gosh, Mary, is that a sign? Because I think I hear you. I think you're someone I think you're telling me, yes, I can pray to you. So all of a sudden, then the chapel bell goes off. The big bell they have chimes. So I walk back into the chapel, and I sit down, and I open up my journal. Because I always I kept a journal, took notes on everything. And the priest walks up to the front of the chapel, and he stands up in front of the audience, and he opens up his Bible, and he suddenly says, Psalms 42, like a deer goes to running water, our hearts naturally flow to God. And I was flabbergasted. My jaw dropped. I'd never read Psalm 42. I didn't know there was a reference to a deer in the Bible. But he says, Psalm 42, like a deer naturally runs to running water, our hearts naturally flow to God. And I immediately wrote that in my journal. I was just awestruck. What are the chances? I'm praying to Mother Mary for the first time really ever. Deer comes out of the woods and approaches me. First time ever. First thing I hear, first human words I hear are a priest with Psalm 42 about a deer. So I'm writing this down in my journal, and I write, I'm praying at the statue of Mary and I went to write Fianna, and I wrote F-I-A, and I froze. Because Fianna, you know your name Fianna is based on the Irish, the Na Fianna were the ancient warrior women of Ireland, right? The ancient warrior women of Ireland. That's why I call you Warrior Princess, baby. What I think I've told you, and I hope you always remember, is F-I-A, your nickname, Fia. Look that up in Irish, baby. Look up F-I-A, look up Fia in Irish. It means deer. Translates to deer. I got goosebumps right now. Just reliving it. So in that moment at Demontreville, at that silent retreat, on September 5, 2025, praying at the Virgin Mary, asking if she's somebody I can pray to. Deer emerges from the woods, approaches me. First thing a priest says, Psalm 42, about a deer. And it hits me, I was praying to Mary for you, Fia. Your name in Irish is deer. If that's not God just smacking me across the face and saying, yes, Ryan, you can pray to Mary. You can pray for your daughter. I don't know what is. I've never experienced, that's like being struck by lightning 3 times in a row. I reflect on that every Sunday because that was my white light moment. That was my white light moment where I knew without a doubt that there is a God, that he does hear me, or she does hear me. And I've continued praying every day since. I was already doing it every day, all of 2025. That let me double down. Now every morning, ever since that moment, I include my prayers, Mother Mary, as I pray for you, Fiona. So, deeply, deeply grateful, beyond grateful to Demontreville, to some of the Catholic Jesuits there who make that thing happen. For the men in my life who have gone there before and spoke highly of it, that inspired me to give it a try. I look forward to going back there again this fall. I'm registered for Labor Day weekend in September. I intend to keep going every year. I can't imagine it's humanly possible that I could ever have an experience like the one I had September 5, 2025. But I've also stopped believing in human constraints, right? I know that God is so much bigger, and I can't limit him. I can't put him in a box. I can't even say what God can or can't do. So, anyhow, kids, I pray that someday you boys, maybe you can come join me for a weekend at Demontreville, 4 days of prayer and meditation. I can show you exactly where I prayed to your sister and where Mary, I believe, answered that prayer. I'll continue showing my gratitude by, as Demontreville asked me, they called it RIP, R-I-P. Reflect. So every week, got an event on my calendar. Every Sunday, I reflect on my experience at Demontreville. Invite. I've invited several others. I will endorse Demontreville to anybody out there. I've got flyers here at Bravo Zulu House on the table of the advertising it for guys. I encourage them to give it a try. And then the P is pray. I do that at least once a day, normally multiple times a day. That's all they asked of me, to show my gratitude. So I continue to do that. Anyhow, I hope you kids have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. Hope you kids take a chance to maybe pray, because you never know what'll happen. Love you kids. Talk soon.